Hello, everyone. It is Monetization Machine, Monetize Crypto. It's just Papa Bear Crypto and Wasnag, Brian today. What's going on, Brian?
Dude, I'm great. I'm sorry to have missed the last live, but I was a bit
Yeah, it's all
under the
right.
weather. Yeah, I was,
Yeah,
I,
we
I
were
was,
okay.
yeah. I mean, I'm still a bit stuffy, but I'm ready to go. I'm ready to jam.
Yeah, well, obviously it's just us here today because somebody, not naming any names, Andy, decided this morning, or I guess in his time, it's probably mid-afternoon, later his time, decided to walk out of his apartment and not grab his keys. So, from what I understand, he's been locked outside now for like 5 hours. And I'm like, "Bruh, how many sets of keys do you have? Do you have like 9 sets of keys that you just happen to grab the wrong one? And if you have
Yeah,
eh, why wouldn't you keep them all in this? I know he doesn't have that many keys. Why wouldn't you keep them all in the same ring?"
like
So,
he's got five Suburbans that he
yeah,
needs keys to or something.
yeah. And it's like, what do you have, like 17 safes or something like that, that you'd have all these individual I know pretty sure there's only like 1 or 2 doors to this man's apartment. Uh, how many keys do you need for that?
Goodness, man, that is
Yeah, I don't
hilarious.
know. So it's, yeah, it's just us today. Lot going on, lot to talk about, especially, I guess really in the Bitcoin market, which is honestly surprising me maybe a little bit today, not so much. And there's a lot on the NFT side to talk about too, specifically Vayner Sports Pass absolutely dumpity dumping yesterday on basically the entire market. Uh, you know,
Vayner Sports Pass ain't shit. You gotta
yeah,
learn how to eat shit.
dude, if you haven't watched the GV parody videos on YouTube, they are like the funniest thing in the entire
Oh,
world. Because they're
they're
so
gold.
incredibly accurate. Like even Gary Vee, I've heard him talk about it. Even he likes the parody videos because they're just so overly ridiculous.
Oh
But the
yeah.
thing is that they're so accurate in the way that he talks. It's
Oh,
like you're literally
they
you
are
just have to
definitely.
eat like garbage for 25 years.
Goodness, man. Monday,
Like
Tuesday, Wednesday, all the days. Man,
yeah.
so good.
Yeah, they're incredibly accurate. I mean, I'm not, honestly, and we can talk about it a little bit before we get into like Bitcoin and just NFTs in general and some of the things that I've seen. The biggest issue that I have with Gary Vee, I think everybody who kind of starts out really likes him, but then over time they kind of see. I don't think he's being like inauthentic in a lot of the things that he's doing. I think he's a very smart businessman, but I think when you really get down to it, a lot of stuff he's saying is just, foundational principles of like business operation, but at the same time, he caters to like the more or less the influence. Like when you look at like Vayner Media, right? Like I've looked into Vayner Media and you look at their site and stuff like that. Like from a functional perspective, like he talks about transparency and stuff a lot. I don't really know a ton about what they do. Like it's honestly, you really have to kind of do some digging to really figure out what they do. Like it's this $100 million plus media empire, and it's difficult to find out what they do, because
Right,
everyone just focuses on Gary Vee and him, and so uh, I think that a big reason that a lot of NFTs are where they're at are because of Gary Vee, and I think in a lot of ways it might not be for the best reasons. Like I think for CryptoPunks and potentially Bored Apes, but I think CryptoPunks specifically, it's like he has all the big high roller phone numbers in his phone, and from what I understand, and this is what Mr. Beast said in a live interview. Just dropped my pen. Mr. Beast said that Gary Vee basically called him up, said like, "Hey, hop in a call." And then in this call, this group call, there's like Logan Paul, all these like big high rollers, and he's basically telling them all to buy CryptoPunks, or Bored Apes. I forget which one it was, or if it was maybe even both. Um, because he says it's going to be the next big thing, and it's like, okay, well, so well that makes sense then. If you get a bunch of rich high rolling people to go drop a bunch of cash um,
Yeah.
on an NFT. So to me, it's like to me that says like it almost didn't happen organically in a way. It was some big hype man getting a bunch of rich people to come in and pump it all up. And who knows how many of those people even still own them anymore. But I guess in some ways that's kind of how NFTs work in a way, because it's like, when you get whales involved in an NFT, that's when everyone really gets excited, because typically the lower, level people can sell, for a very large profit. Um,
Right.
but to me that was just, I think that's how Gary Vee is, and I think he really, now he's really trying to get involved in crypto. He's really trying to get involved in Web3. But the issue that I have is that he's trying to get involved, but not actually do anything with it. Like, I'm sorry, like
Yeah.
the V Friends and the V Sports Pass NFT, just to me, when you think about utility on an NFT, like when I research NFTs and when I look into NFTs and I'm looking at like the functional utility of them, I would say Vayner Sports Pass, for people that are really into sports, the biggest utility behind that is potential sports tickets, either discounts or sports tickets for being part of the NFT. Because I was thinking to myself, and I don't know if I ever will start an NFT of my own. It would be fun. But I was thinking to myself, like, I would say the biggest utilities that can be put on NFT are ones that are actually functional in the real world,
Right.
like actually functional within like our current, um, something that attracts something that
Like gaming.
attracts people. Well, something that attracts people outside of the crypto world. And one thing that occurred to me is like, what if you could make partnerships with a lot of really big businesses, um, and get either discounts on products or some sort of functional access to what they're doing as well, right? So, like, what
Right.
if it was an NFT, that for gamers or something like that, that got you access to like Alienware products for really cheap, or got you access to maybe Best Buy stuff for a discount, something like you own this NFT, you get like a special, like almost like employee discount. I don't know how that like contract would work with like Best Buy or the bigger businesses. I didn't really think that far into it. Um, but to me, it would be like, I think there's, and I think slowly the NFT world is coming to that, where it's like ticket sales will be done most likely as NFTs, um, and bigger functions like that. But I think that's one benefit of. I think Vayner Media. I think V Friends was like. I think the whole benefit to that is like, yeah, okay, everybody has a private community. Everybody has that. Okay, we all know there's this private high level community behind View Friends. Okay, whatever. But then it's like, oh, you get like, I think you get like a day a year, or like an hour a year or something like that with Gary Vee. And it's like, okay, all
Yeah.
right, is
Well,
that is that
well,
worth like 40K or whatever? Like,
for
whenever
sure.
the price was whenever pumping 40, 30, 50K, I don't know.
Yeah, no, no, I totally hear you, man. Just for those who may not be aware, what exactly just happened? Why are we talking about Vader? Because there's some
Yeah.
juicy stuff that just happened that absolutely wrecked things.
Well, no, that's a good point. Well, like I said, Vayner Sports Pass, the contract went live yesterday, and that's like the latest iteration. It wasn't, I guess, made by Gary Vee. It was made by his brother AJ, and I don't know, I don't think the apple falls too far. I mean, they're not. He's not from the tree, but they're both made of the same apples, and so I wouldn't put too much stock in something that AJ does. Um, since he's part of Gary Vee's troop. And so what happened was, and this was an NFT that basically it doesn't have any, it's not like art or anything like that. It's just a pass. So it's just like, from what I can see in the NFTs, it's just like these little cards. And you get access to this private community, like that everybody has. And it's, because AJ, I'm pretty sure, runs Vayner Sports. So the whole point of this was to get you access to, yeah, potentially sports tickets and other stuff just behind sports and with whatever VaynerMedia is doing. and
Mhm.
potentially like private events, digital events, online events, and stuff like that for having to do with sports and Vayner stuff. And so what happened was, basically for just the way that they set up the contract, they set it up, I believe, as an ER 721 or an ERC 721 contract, which for this type of mint didn't make a whole lot of sense, because there's not really any metadata that's structured behind it, which for something that has metadata and something that maybe has some future utility, it makes more sense to have an ERC 721. But there's other simpler contracts that they could have used, like they could have used an ERC like 1155, and that's a little bit more of a simpler contract and doesn't require like any sort of separate contracts to run alongside it. And so that would have been the better route. But what happened at the end is that there was around 26, or there was okay, so that all of them were sold, and there was about $8 million made from the sale of these. Let me check my number on that, but I'm pretty sure that's right. I just want to make sure that I get the numbers right.
For sure.
And then I
How
check.
many were part of the drop?
Okay. So we have out of the entire collection, there are around 15,000 to 16,000 items in the passes, right? That are in Vayner Sports Pass, that are on OpenSea right now. I don't know what the max or what the entire collection was supposed to be, but right now there's 15.6 items that is showing on, or 15.6 thousand items, 15.6K items that are showing on OpenSea. And so what happened was is that there was 8.6 million that was made from the sale of the NFT. And that sounds
Mhm.
like that sounds okay. Honestly, pretty low for an NFT of that size, but I don't think it was that expensive. I wasn't sure. It really wasn't on my radar because honestly, anything that kind of is around Gary Vee or Vayner, anything, I personally am not like really that invested in it. I don't
Yeah, I
think
mean,
they're I don't think
if
they're degen at all. I don't think they're I don't really think that they're like
they're
that they're
not
good for.
degen.
I don't think they're well, yeah, I know it sounds ridiculous. I don't think they're good for the community in a lot of ways, and I can talk about that more. But the issue is that there was $8.6 million sold, but there was $26 million paid in gas fees. And so, and honestly, there was, I think, how many there were how many failed transactions were there? I know that the majority of people like failed the first couple transactions, and with this type of contract, um, there was the way they set it up. I was looking at the contract a little bit, and from what I could see, is they had like sometimes when they try to limit the amount of mints that happen on a contract, they do like there's a function, an increment token mint counter, so it counts how many mints that you have per wallet,
Right.
and that's okay, but the problem is that came before the safe mint function, so that the mint would have a higher chance, or it would be safer to mint. And so the issue is that the increment one of the main issues is that the increment token counter came before safe mint. And I read this after I got this from Saigar off of Twitter, and then I read the contract a little bit, but it makes total sense when looking at it. Um, and so because of that, basically you would have the mint counter happening first before safe mint, and so transactions were failing. And the problem is that when a transaction fails, you lose the gas either way, right?
Right.
And so because of the type of contract, overly complex for something that doesn't need to be this complex. It's just art, and there's not any metadata that's really tied to this contract. And there was a couple other things, yeah, in the contract that just weren't very efficient in how it was set up. And I think this in a bigger way shines light into the idea that uh, Gary Vaynerchuk and AJ Vaynerchuk, I just don't think that they're good for the space in a lot of ways. And I think that's
Yeah.
obvious when you look at the VCon lineup. Like, how, we're still in the development phase of crypto and Web3 right now. And the biggest issue with me is like if you look at the lineup for VCon, or even if you looked at like NFT LA, I think I saw a lot of people talking about how, specifically developers talking about how, you know, I look at VCon and I look at NFT LA or whatever, and the majority of speakers have no technical background or developmental background at all. Like, I
Right.
don't understand why Logan Paul is speaking at VCon. If anything, Logan Paul has done nothing but rug, uh, has done nothing but
Right.
rug multiple projects he's put out, and multiple projects that he's talked about. He's promoted like multiple scam coins. Um, and
Although
so
he
there's
did have a
some,
good match at WrestleMania.
yeah,
He did
right.
have a good match at WrestleMania on
Thank
Sunday.
Thank goodness for WrestleMania. But there's people's money at stake here, and that's what bothers
Yeah.
me. And we're still in that developmental stage. And I'm not saying you have to get a bunch of nerds up on stage to talk about, although I would like it if he did, but you don't have to get a bunch of nerds up on stage to talk about this kind of stuff. But if we're still in this developmental stage, shouldn't it be, more important to be talking about actual building? And like I said, some of the people going to VCon and that were at NFTLA, they were creators of NFTs and stuff like that. But then like the big, you just have these bigger random names that are basically just to attract clout. And I get it. He's a businessman. At the end of the day, Gary Vee is out to make money, and I'm not like faulting him for that. Okay, but people need to take a step back and realize that there's a business in the background here. Okay, businesses need to make revenue,
Yeah.
and that's part of what he's doing. So there's no reason for Logan Paul to be at this, right? I mean, okay, you got Mila Kunis coming. Okay, great. Well, she is an NFT as far as I understand. I'm pretty sure that she has created an NFT. Um, but just when you have these people that are basically just there to be influencers, to be clout. Oh, and coming to VCon, the DMLOs. And on the
Mm.
on the homepage of VCon, it says like, something about Web3. It's like, building the future of Web3, or increasing Web3 or something like that, or talking about the, stuff of Web3. All right. What do the DMLOs have to do with Web3 at all? What are they going to, they're going to talk about writing Ethereum contracts? Are they going to talk about the foundational architecture that we're building upon here? This is why devs are paid so much, because and I think this is why devs deserve to be paid a lot, because the majority of people don't understand any of it. And so you have to get influencers to come to this stuff. I know I'm talking about it for a long time, but it's bothersome in a way, because it's like, man, we're trying to build stuff here. Okay. We're trying to do things, and you're out there letting people suck on your thumbs and you're in the tips of your fingers, just so you can, just so you can mentally masturbate their minds a little bit. Um, and
Right.
we're actually the ones doing it here, But the thing is, and then this Vayner Sports Pass comes out, and I mean, man, I cannot. It hit the fan hard. I know I've seen some guys that spent 3 to 10 ETH, majority of it in gas for this pass, because I think everyone had in their mind Vayner Sports Pass, but V friends, that went to like 16 to 20 ETH. Oh, so we're gonna be fine. 16 to 40. I mean, I don't remember what. Like I said, it's not really on my radar, so I don't really look at it that much, because I really don't care about it. The only reason I would have wanted to get into it is so that I could flip the crap out of it.
Right.
Because I buy the hype, sell the product all day long. Um, and so I think people have that in their minds. But the thing is that the floor is sitting at like 0.4 right now. Okay, there was a free mint yesterday, Illogics, free, that people paid almost nothing for. That's like half of their price, and it was completely free. And there's
Right.
way smaller of a community behind it. And so, like, I think there's more Vayner Sports Passes for sale right now than there is Illogics. And so
Wow.
it's kind of like, the free mints are doing better than even some of the more hype ones, and I think that's actually a really cool thing that's happening with NFTs right now. There was a free mint, I forget which one it was, like a month ago, that actually ended up really pumping after like a week or two of coming out, or a month or so. And so I actually got in on a Logic yesterday. I stopped it at a relatively low enough price, but um,
Mhm.
I didn't get it on the mint because I didn't know about it until later on. But I think it's important to realize that sometimes these projects that have really really hyped founders, and these projects that have really really hyped really really hyped, not art, because I think that's part of it that matters. But I would say that if the founders are too hypey, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
the community
there
can be really,
is.
but if Floyd Mayweather is talking about an NFT, you might not want to touch it,
Yeah, well, it is a thing where, right now we are riding a wave. We're kind of in that, we'll call it phase two of the development of Web3. With Bitcoin and with ETH. Sort of building that first, not just concept, proof of concept, but building that first layer where we can build an Internet of Things. There's a huge wave that comes with that, of people that are just trying to make money off of it.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
when
Which
it
I think we're still early in a lot of ways, but I see what you're saying, like in the grand scheme.
For
I,
sure,
th-
yeah,
in
I
the grand
mean,
scheme.
and when we look back to like when we first became entrepreneurs, I mean, Gary V was the guy. When we first got in, he was the guy who was
Oh
the
yeah, he's
loudest,
everybody's
had the
guy.
biggest person. Yeah, he had the biggest personality. He was great at building hype, and just like you said, he is a great businessman, man, and great businessmen still fuck up, and they still make mistakes. And when it comes to this here, I mean, I think all of us have a special fondness for Gary Vee, in that respect, for the fact that he's a good businessman, but still he's a very good salesman. I think.
I mean, Bernie
I think
Madoff
he's,
was a really good businessman, but he funneled billions of dollars out of rich people's hands, uh,
of course.
and then lost it all. So
Yeah, no, for
I see
sure.
what you're saying. Like he's influential in the space, and I would say the one thing I respect about him is he doesn't have a course. Thank the Lord he doesn't have a course. That would just like, oh, that would turn me off so hard if he had like some online course, like
Yeah, well,
like
well.
Grant
Here's
Cardone or
what I
something. You know?
Right. Here's what I think that Gary Vee's really good for. When you're down in the dumps, when things are just not going well, when you had a rough day at work, and you just need some of that hype, you need some of that inspiration. You go to Gary Vee, and you see that life is life. Life is about eating shit, and you just got to get through it. That's really what I think Gary Vee is good for. I don't think financial advice or technological innovation is really going to come from the Chuckster,
Yeah.
the Vayner man.
So the issue is that when you cultivate a following around that, though, you create like what we're seeing, a bunch of sheep
It's a
who
circle
like,
jerk for sure.
yeah, it's a circle jerk of sheep that can't really see through the functional aspects of like everything that he does. And in a way, I'm sure he's helped a lot of people. There's a lot of that could be said about him. Um, I just think when it gets down to it, like thinking about what he did with CryptoPunks and pumping it, basically making it this, he bringing in like his circle Illuminati of rich friends. He probably went to the Skull and Bones meeting too to gather up some people for CryptoPunks, um,
Goodness.
and gathered up a bunch of rich people, um, but then also at the same time, um, it's the biggest issue that I have is that they're so rich, they have access to probably some of the best people in the world, and the fact that something as simple as like a simple, just a simple minting contract that honestly, it's are really not the most difficult thing in the world to do. Um, people paid $26 million. People have lost $26 million basically, uh,
Yeah,
yesterday, and there's talk of refunds. Okay, that's good. At least AJ at least from what I can see, considering sending out refunds. I will give him that. But the thing is yeah, when you get a bunch of people involved that have absolutely no background in technical development, and you get a bunch of people doing this stuff that this is the reason why we have spent the better part of a year and a half learning technical dev before really doing anything
right,
to have a functional understanding. Like if we're marketing for a project, but we don't know how to accurately break down, like we can't read the technical aspects of it and accurately break them down and make them simpler for people that maybe aren't as technical. Um, I envisioned that a year and a half ago as being a huge problem. And I think we're
mhm,
seeing a perfect use case of it now, where they have no technical background, so therefore who knows, they might have used somebody who does to hire this person, but I'm sorry, it's like I said, it's not the hardest thing in the world. And so that's the biggest issue with me is this totally could have been avoided. There's even more ways than what I described about that could have been avoided. That all of it
right,
could have been. And based upon the amount of contracts that have been launched, that's the issue with me. As there's been so many different ways that contracts have been launched and mints have been launched now that people have been able to avoid this. But what's Gary V and AJ Vaynerchuk, some of the biggest people, influencers online that have millions of followers and access to hundreds of millions of dollars of capital, couldn't write a simple mint contract for uh for a pass that has almost no metadata and no art.
it's it's a big oof, man.
That's the bothersome thing to me. That's the most bothersome thing. Why I don't know why the most bother the most bothersome thing to me about it.
Yeah, you got it.
It's not the fact that I think they were necessarily screwing people or anything like that. It's like, this is what this is why like I said, why developers deserve to be paid so much is because there's so many there's like people encroaching on their space, and it's mainly
Yeah,
it's influencers encroaching on their space, and they can just come in and tell everyone to shut up because they actually know what's going on here. Like I doubt anybody on Gary Vee's team could explain to me like how Ethereum actually works or like what an EVM is or like any of that. I don't know.
yeah.
That's probably
Well,
too far. That's probably too far fetched. But um, at the same time, yeah, that's just where it's unfortunate, and I hope people can gather some of their money back because, man, after a big, I wouldn't categorize it as a rug. I think it was just a stupid mistake that could have
yeah,
easily been avoided, honestly,
it was an
if they had
oversight.
any technical background at all. Um,
For sure. I do think that there are some lessons that we can learn here. Simply because the same lessons that we learned in Web 1 and in Web 2, we're learning here in Web 3. When it comes to the mission of providing at least an alternative, right? A decentralized alternative to the traditional centralized systems that we have in place. We have stuff to do. We have a mission. And when it comes to how we look at what happened with Web 1, okay, anybody who bought a URL, okay, anybody who bought a .com and registered a .com as a corporation or as an LLC, they could become publicly traded and they could pump just like any other company during the .com boom, and then thousands, millions of people lost so much money in it, simply because they didn't follow the fundamentals. The actual business side of things wasn't accounted for. If I just buy cars.com, right? If I was just some dingus who bought cars.com back in 1999, before cars.com actually became a thing, like, yeah, any dingus can buy a URL and then have it pump or sell it off for a huge profit.
There are
Um,
literally companies that do that.
yeah,
You know,
but is that good for the ecosystem at large? Was the com boom? I mean, I guess in a long term sense, yeah, it was good for the development of the internet, but a lot of people lost their shirt in that. And I can see the same things happening here in Web3, where you have any random, and I don't want to call Gary Vee a dingus, but he's kind of a dingus. You have these guys, these influencers who don't have a technical background, who aren't familiar with Substrate and Rust, and any other development language, and you have these folks who are building up hype for a drop that is not technically sound, is not fundamentally sound from that business perspective. So I guess I'd love to hear your thoughts, bro, as far as like what lessons can we learn from this. I guess from us personally, from us as a company, and for the people who might be listening. Whatever direction that you want to take it.
well, I think that yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point in relation to like the .com boom. I mean, it's not in a lot of ways, yeah, it's the same. In a lot of ways, it's different.
Of
Which,
course.
dude, I didn't even mention this actually. I love my boom arm here. It makes things a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Um, but we have to look at a couple of different aspects of like what made the .com boom what it is. There was huge operating losses within .com companies, right? They were just like spending like money profusively, which I think you could say it's the same maybe about some crypto companies as well. But the fact of the matter, I don't think like I don't know if we can say that a ton of like the stock market specifically is potentially tied up in these companies. Like when you look at like the Nasdaq um, or the Dow or anything like that. Maybe some of these big hedge funds, sure, or like retail. But I think we just have to kind of look at it in the ways that it's structured. And um, I think in a lot of ways that there is a lot of hype right now. And I think that in a similar way, I think that when there is the inevitable market crash or depression or whatever you want to call it, I think a lot of projects will not make it because the reality is, yeah, we still are in a hypey type stage, um, where the majority of projects are not making income. I really don't think a lot of people understand that. Like the majority of projects aren't generating revenue and don't have
Right.
active products yet. The vast majority of them. And so a lot of this hype that you see in a lot of and it's mainly in micro caps. I don't think that like the top 25 are probably going to go anywhere. But I think over the next, 5 to 10 years, it will be more difficult to just launch a project and get a couple $1 million in funding and expect your price to go up to a couple $1,000s, unless you got something that's like really influential like Amazon. Amazon survived the .com boom because they controlled their spending and they had a very unique product that had huge market need.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, when it comes to URLs, I think that part of that is just like, SEO, like cars.com. If you're selling cars, that's the URL to
Oh
have, not
yeah.
just because it's the URL, but because of just the SEO of it.
Of course.
Um, and so, but yeah, I think that a lot of people can learn right now. And I think it depends on where you're at. If you're just an investor, like I said, buy the hype, sell the product. Typically, from what we've seen in a lot of ways, um, you know, yeah, in a lot of ways, when a product comes out, it typically, consolidates the price a little bit more than it does pump it up, right?
Hmm.
It's the hype folks that come in, and when there's so like, oh, it's almost here because a product almost never meets expectations in a lot of ways, and
Yeah.
that's where it's like this, tiny the products take years to develop because you're listening to market feedback
Yeah.
and looking for just any sort of insight into what you can get on yeah, on a project or on a product. And so when the product comes out, there's typically tons of things wrong with it, and so it typically doesn't bode well for the price. Um, and even if there's not, there's going to be somebody that's saying something that they don't like about it, and that's okay. It's feedback. We encourage that. We want that. Um, and so I think investors need to learn right now to not get emotional and also consider the fact that diamond handing isn't always the best strategy. Diamond handing is emotion. It's, and it doesn't mean that when you sell or when you get involved in a project but don't dump a whole lot of money into it, or when you don't diamond hand, it doesn't mean that you don't like the project. You are the investor. The goal is to make money, not to support a project. If
Right.
you want to support a project, then get involved in the community and get involved with the leadership and help in building it. But the reality is that um, investing in there, especially if you're below, your sub 10 to $100 million portfolio, investing in a project isn't going to really make it skyrocket or anything like that. Investors' goal is to make money. If you're not making money, then you're not investing. I would say your investing strategy is probably not great. Obviously, there can be tiers to that and whatnot, right? In terms of long term and short term and midterm holds and stuff like that. Not everybody's swing trading and whatnot. Um, and if you want to be somebody who holds on to something for a couple of years, that's fine. But I'm not. Me personally, that's to me personally, I'm a swing. I don't day much, but it's swing trading for the most part. It's buying the lows and selling the highs as much as possible over and over again as many times as possible.
For sure.
And because my goal is not to hold an NFT for 2 or 3 years. My goal is to get into an NFT, be a part of the community and get involved in the community, help in the ways that I can. And then when I see that the time is right and there's a profit that I have set out for my strategy in mind, cut it. Even
Dump.
if dump it. Yeah, and it's not that you're dumping it on somebody else or something like that. You're saying like, this is where I want it to be. And this is the price that I wanted to get out. This is the profit that I want. So therefore, I'm going to take it. Because if you don't, um, and again, if you're fine with things going down for a year and not making any money off it for a year, that's fine. But I'm into, especially if you're somebody who wants to do this full time or at least wants to make a significant amount of capital on it. And most of the time it's in and out, in and out, sell here. And that's how I made the majority of my ETH last year. Is I had to break, my first NFT was probably the most I was the most emotionally tied to, hardcore. But
Right.
if I wouldn't have sold them, then I wouldn't have made the majority of ETH that I made last year. It was a series of good decisions of getting in and out of NFTs back and forth, make some losses here, but take that and invest it in something here. Well, now I made some profit here. Okay, put that back and then make profit here. Um, Over and over again, constantly cycling. And that doesn't mean, that you're selling every day or anything like that. But for me, it's especially with NFTs, I look almost over a 1 to 3 month timeline, maybe even less than
Right.
that in some respects. Depends. Um, because it's like if you look at Azuki and it's like, okay, if you would have sold Azuki, which not every NFT is Azuki, but looking at it, Azuki, really pumped after like 1 to 2 months, 1 to 3 months, maybe a little bit longer than that, or so. And so part of it is understanding where the project is going, where the community is going, where the leaders are taking the project, and then being able to um, know where you want to get out at. And I think with NFTs, it's important to have more than one. That way, if you want to drop two and just hold one to see where it goes, right? And be happy with your profits. I never look back and say, like, man, I wish I wish I wouldn't have sold. I would have made more, you know?
Right.
You can't do that. You just can't be happy. Be happy you came out alive. You lived to serve another day, to trade another day. You're going to be fine.
Straight up.
And that's the way I look at it. But yeah, that was kind of a long extrapolated answer in regards to what we can, you know,
Yeah.
what we can
That's
learn.
cool, man.
The biggest part is
Yeah.
just to look at it in respect and into respect of where we are on the timeline. We are not even close. We're still in developmental stage. We're not even close to where at the point of like the internet launching, or in terms of mainstream pickup. Now it can
Right.
happen fast, but at the same time, it's important to understand what we're developing here, and the timelines on some of these projects is not like tomorrow or next month or anything like that that we're done, or that things are really going mainstream. Now I think there's a lot of good reasons to be bullish right now. Like I think I did want to look at the Bitcoin market, a good segue into that, because I'm not doom and gloom. I'm not hopium. I'm not really any of that. I just try and look at what's happening. I'm not invested in Bitcoin, and so I don't really have a lot of, I can't really say what you should do, or like, and I wouldn't say that anyway, because none of this is financial advice.
Of
Um,
course not.
but just looking at Bitcoin right now, I think a lot of people are a little bit scared. And I tell you what, I was a little bit worried when we crossed down below, 44. To me, that was a not. I guess it depends, right? Because so this is a 5 minute chart, but we really have to look at the larger charts as well. I mean, we've been trading sideways now for the past couple of days, and
Right.
so if we look at the 1 hour is still not looking great, but at the same time, we're outside of the Bollinger Bands, and so that to me, it's definitely it's not the perfect signal, but it tells you that we might be coming up here soon-ish. But the MACD is still below, and so 1 hour isn't looking great, and 4 hour, which you do have to give 4 hours some time. Honestly, we're only halfway through the 4 hour, and so it looks like things might be turning around. Not really that much or so. We're at the bottom end of the Bollinger Band here, and so I was a little bit worried when we hit that 43. I was a little bit worried about that, and now we've come back a little bit. I think we might see a little bit of a short term bounce here, but um, I think there's, from a technical analysis standpoint, we can't. Let's see. Let's look at the month here. We cannot close lower than last month's previous low. Okay, like looking at March here. Let's see. Oh, it's not showing it by day. Let's look at day. All right, so looking at March here, it looks like lowest close was somewhere around, or no, we can't have a close below. I think the high of March, maybe. I don't know. I'm not big. I'm not crazy when it comes to technical analysis. Yeah, but essentially in March, we did have a higher close here around the 43 to 44 mark. Yeah, I think it's you don't want to, the next month you don't want to close, especially when you've gone higher than the higher high here. You don't want to close below that, especially you don't want to close below the lower low, which I think is relatively obvious. Um, and so to me, when I'm looking at the daily here, or when I'm looking at just the overall market sentiment and stuff that's going on here, I think there might have been a Fed or SEC meeting today, so that might be why things are going a little bit crazy. Um, but it all depends on kind of what we close at today. I
Right.
think in terms of like where we go in the future. Now, there's so many things to be bullish on in terms of just, we've gotten a little bit more regulation this year. We've gotten, which, is relatively good. I know most of the market's against regulation, but I think in order for retail to really come back into the picture, we need some regulation. And then on the other end, it's a lot of just company and widespread adaption and country adaption into a lot of different countries. Now, I don't think a lot of the countries are significant enough to really bolster us up, but at the same time, it's not something to bat an eye at. And so it's kind of where I think we are right now, in terms of just the market and Bitcoin and whatnot. Um, but and then on the NFT side, we've kind of gotten off the topic about NFTs there for a minute, but I have heard, and a lot of people have been speculating on Coinbase, the Coinbase NFT. And I have heard through a pipeline and from some friends on some Twitter accounts that I follow that it's looking at some point between, at some point in the middle of April, that Coinbase NFT potentially launching. Um, and
That is
so
huge, man.
that's all I can really say about it for now. But I have heard that through the pipeline and through a couple of different sources, and so don't know if that's accurate, but yeah, it's something that's huge. I'll be interested to see the market sentiment on it, since a lot of traders really don't like Coinbase that much in
Right.
certain ways, because they have become very centralized in a lot of different ways. Like I think coming up here soon, I won't even be able to use Coinbase anymore, because I haven't like uploaded all the information that you need and stuff.
Oh
Um,
gosh. Yeah. I
so
mean, I do think well, I mean, I guess I'm curious on like the artists and the collections that they put together, because I mean they announced Coinbase NFT in October,
well, I'll tell
right?
you this.
And
Have you heard of Mechaverse? I think,
no,
right?
I
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah, Mechaverse. Well, Mechaverse is a pretty big NFT that launched and then just like radical dump. I think at one point it was selling for like 4 ETH, and now it's selling for like 0.76.
Like
Now,
eight in
if
the morning.
yeah. So like if you look at the sales of Mechaverse, I think there was an account. I forget what his Twitter handle is. But I'm pretty sure Mechaverse is a partner with Coinbase NFT. Okay. And this dude bought like I think 180 ETH worth of Mechaverse this morning,
Wow.
which I don't know, probably nothing. I don't know. I'm considering buying one honestly. Um, because yeah, I think if I read correctly, I believe they're a Coinbase partner, and so that's I don't know what kind of sign that is. I'm still waiting for some like confirmation of that, of like just like shoot the dude, yeah, he bought a lot for sure, and a lot of them um were above the floor price that from what I could see. Um, and so they were probably pretty good ones too. But yeah, it was like 180 ETH or
Yeah,
120 ETH or something like that. Um, and so a lot of speculation around that. And so yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out. But um, yeah, I'm excited to see what they do.
of course, man. Yeah, I mean, I mean, they announced it in October, and you know that a huge I mean, one of the most mainstream, crypto companies, crypto exchanges, um, they've been working on this for a while, and so I'm super excited to see just like what they have when they open the doors. Um, but yeah, yeah, and I'm curious to see what like you said, there's kind of a bias against Coinbase in the degen portion of the crypto and Web3 community. So I'm definitely curious to see how the retail investors take to it.
Yeah. Well, I don't, if coincidentally, I think the retail investors might be more inclined to it, but it's maybe because retail in a way, I think that they pulled out because there wasn't any regulation around crypto as a whole. And so I think that's where I know some people would argue against regulation, but I think there is some needed because there's a lot of people worried about, because sometimes regulation can happen. And if you don't get grandfathered under this specific thing, you could get really screwed. Um, and so retail, I think, was really worried about there not being any regulation. And therefore, they pulled a lot out. There's probably a lot of other reasons as well. But yeah, I think that I don't know what people, when a company like Coinbase, when you go public, right? They IPO'd, and so when you go public, there's just a series of steps and processes that happen with that. That I guess it's like I'm not mad at Coinbase for being so centralized, because the reality is to do an IPO, they would have had to be more
Of course,
centralized. They would have had to collect all this information, for the SEC isn't going to let them IPO unless they do it basically on their terms,
of
right?
course.
Um, so there's I don't think there's anything to be upset at, and there's a lot of other options as well. And so I'll definitely be watching for it and definitely want to get involved with it because um, I think that there definitely will be some bigger players in terms of like the retail space going on to Coinbase NFT. Just for the fact that it's Coinbase NFT. Does that mean I'll have to, hand over all my information? I don't know. Um, hopefully I can just use my MetaMask, but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what it looked like. Yeah, but
Absolutely, man. Well, hey, dude. Anything else that's on your mind
no,
at this
we've gone
point?
for about 50 minutes, which I think is pretty good. Not having Andy here to, I feel bad because it's like I would be interested to hear what's going on in the Polkadot, and there's some fun stuff happening in Solana. Like you introduced me to what's that game called? Miniverse.
Mini
Right,
Royale.
mini royale, yeah. So I might be trying that out today at some point, so I can kick your nuggets in that game.
Yeah,
But
dude.
is that so? Is
I
that
mean,
is that a live game? Like you're competing against other people and whatnot,
100%.
and
Yeah.
you talk to
So,
other people. Like is
you
there
know
like
what?
party chats and whatnot?
I've never seen a chat function, but there is like there is a text chat. Here, let me pull
What
this
about
up.
voice? Is there a voice chat? Like it's like Xbox Live or whatever?
Nah,
That'd be
nothing
lame.
like
I would
that.
want to. I want to talk to you as I kill you. Is it like free? Is there teams and whatnot, or is it like you know?
Yeah, yeah. So here's their website portal.
Let me
So
pull it up here.
where
Oh yeah, there we go.
can you see my screen, or are you sharing?
Oh, I can see it.
Oh, sweet. But yeah, so I mean, just first of all, gorgeous site, lots of depth, lots of
Very good
color.
site.
Absolutely love it.
Perfect site
But
for a
yeah,
game, honestly.
so this is an actual game that is live. It's basically if you think about Fortnite plus Call of Duty plus CS:GO, that this is exactly what you're looking for. So it's an FPS shooter, and there's also a land element here. That this is something that's being built
Oh,
right
that's
now.
kind of
They
sick.
just Yeah, so they just have the game function as well as like the tokenomics. They dropped their season one NFT a while ago, and their season two NFTs are actually dropping tomorrow. So I hope I'm going to be able to get in on that. Tried my best to get in on the whitelist. They actually just ran a whitelist
Oh shoot, dude!
contest.
Why didn't you tell me about it?
Bro, well, the thing is, you had to be top five in the daily ranks of the game in order to get on the whitelist. So you would have to freaking grind.
Oh,
Like
I got you.
I literally played for 4 hours straight, and I can only get to top 25. So that there is a good amount of players on here. It's pretty limited game modes, limited weapons, but yeah, I mean they're just getting started. So this is a project that I'm definitely really excited about. Like here's like when you go to the first page here. This is just what you see. Super easy. Start the game, and you got all your game modes here. Um, they have different daily modes that they'll put together. So like they got the three basic ones, and then a daily mode. So like today it's shotguns, and yeah, they got other modes coming soon. I'm really looking forward to the free for all. But
So,
yeah,
did you have to get an NFT to play this?
not at all. So this is totally free to play. With the NFT drops, of course, you get certain benefits and privileges and boosts in the game as well, like armor and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's completely free to play, and they're also integrating a shop very soon. So like as you level up, as you gain experience and whatnot, they have orbs, which is aside from their actual tokens. The orbs are the in-game tokens that you can use in the in-game shop for upgrading weapons and upgrading your armor and so on and so forth. So, yeah, there's a lot of different monetization opportunities, not just from the NFT side, but as their tokens get released, and and as well as the in-game rewards. I've absolutely fallen in love with this game, and I think if anyone is a fan of FPS shooters and you also like blockchain and you're in crypto too, definitely check it out for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm excited to check it out. So the whitelist for this next season is closed now.
Yeah, it's totally closed. The drop is happening tomorrow, so I'm gonna see if I can get in on that.
What do you
And
think?
I'm
What do you
really
think the drop will go for? Like on
uh
secondary,
oh the mint is gonna be 0.96 Sol. It's a Solana game. So the
right?
mint is about 1 Sol. I mean, I think on the secondary, because the thing is, there's a lot of people in this community. They have 40,000 Twitter followers and they have over 60K in their Discord.
Yeah, dude. There's a lot
Um,
of people joining. Like I'm noticing the Sol community, which I've been involved with Solana for a long time. I hold a lot of Solana that I
right.
bought at this recent dip at like $87. Um,
Oh, we know. You don't stop saying it.
you know, um, and so I'm actually really getting interested in the NFT side as well. Like I don't know if you've seen D Gods, but I think D God more right now is like almost 20 grand. Hi,
Right. That's my wife.
that's Brian's wife. What a loser. She can't hear me, can
Oh
she?
man.
No, she can't.
No. We're live.
Everyone's
We're
watching
live.
you.
Go ahead.
The whole world, the
Goodness.
whole world of nobody is watching.
That it, that is hilarious. Man. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yes, it definitely love that game, and
yeah, I'm gonna
people
check it out
should
for
play it.
sure. I might check out the secondary as well because honestly, there are some fun ETH games. I played like Mines of Delaria a little bit, which is like okay, but I've honestly been looking for a good first person shooter because I've been playing a lot of Oculus, um, Population One, and Onward and stuff. And yeah, those are super fun. And so I've been looking for like a good FPS computer game, like especially on crypto, which I'm sure there are some. I'm just not as involved. I look at the game, I look at everything just from like a perspective right now of when I look at crypto gaming, especially on ETH, it's like all right, let's make some of them dirty fat gains,
Oh yeah.
but not necessarily playing the game. Mine's with Delaria was okay, but it's I don't know, it's I don't know how to describe it. Or a game that's similar to it that I can like remember. It's just not. It gets kind of tedious after a little while, and it's just kind of like whatever.
I
But
hear
yeah,
that.
I'd be in for a good FPS time, so I can get on there and slap you around a little bit.
Oh yeah. Okay, dude. I've been literally playing this game like 1 to 2 hours per day on the weekends, maybe more. So
Oh boy,
don't even step in the ring with me, dog, if you don't want the smoke.
I don't know, bro. I might be able to come in there and slap you around a little bit. I was,
We'll see.
I was a pretty big. I know you weren't really into Call of Duty or anything like that back in the day, and so
What are you talking about, dude? Like, dude, I had a Call of Duty YouTube channel.
I know you were, I know you were, yeah. Uh,
Man,
but see, I was into like, I'm into like Rainbow Six and like that. I was into Call of Duty too, but like Rainbow Six and Battlefield, that was my stuff. And that takes some strategy, you know what I mean? Some strategic thinking, which I don't know if you're on that same level.
Mini Royale is not a strategy game whatsoever
Yeah,
at
I
this
know,
point. It is
I know.
literally just it's literally the twitchiest of Twitch shooters, but it is a whole ton of fun.
Is it laggy at
Um,
all, or does it usually hold up pretty well?
it does hold up. I'd say about 80% of the time, because I believe we're on dedicated servers, not like on like the
Right.
old Xbox or PSN days.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember those days,
you know,
man, back in the Xbox days where we had stuff. It would be lagging so hard. Oh my
so
word.
bad. But yeah, so there's not that much of a problem. The game is a little bit buggy, but it's a brand new game, and it's a
Right.
whole. I mean, it's an entire FPS
Still
multiplayer
in
shooter.
still in beta.
Yeah, but yeah, as
Beta.
far as getting into a match is relatively simple. It's nothing egregious, and yeah, I mean the community is only growing from here.
We should sometimes we should play the game together because I think we could both share our screens. We
Yeah,
could both be in here and then we could live stream us playing it together actually
that's
on
exactly
Restream.
what I was thinking,
That
dude.
would
I
actually
was
that would be super fun. It wouldn't have
dude,
anything to do with monetizing crypto or anything like that. Um, but I think
I
it would
would
be really
love that.
fun. Really fun to actually do it. But yeah, so we've been coming up on an hour here, guys, and so I think it's about time to cut it off. I know we kind of just have been talking about random things, but we're really trying to put together just a whole strategy of stuff to put together on this podcast for it's and just the work that we're doing because we do for the marketing and stuff that we do for our clients and whatnot, and be able to help other projects and other people get into marketing for crypto or not because it is a lot more. It's way different than traditional and old digital advertising, and so we've been trying to put together sort of a strategy, but also just talk about stuff that's relevant to the industry itself. And so, I hope there'll be more content in the future, kind of in line with that. So, but I hope that people just enjoy talking with us as well and being here with us. We're always looking in
Yeah,
the chat to see if anybody's asking questions and whatnot. And so, but there's a lot of things in the works, just a lot of new projects that we're working on right now, and we're excited to talk about them and get more involved in that. But I think that's it. Hopefully, Andy will be here on the next one. Hopefully, he doesn't lock himself out of his apartment again, so he can actually be here talking with us. But yeah,
of
I think
course.
that's it for today, guys. And so until next time, or until we go live and I kick Brian's butt on that game, we will talk to you soon.
Later, y'all.